What makes the good life the good life? This podcast is on a mission to find out. So join us as we explore the Heartland's best and most honest voices. Venture to all four corners of York County, because when it comes to quality of life, it's all about keeping it local. Brought to you by the York County Development Corporation. This is 17 County.
Thank you for joining us today. Be sure to like, subscribe, and review our podcast, 17 County Podcast. We would also like to take the time to thank our great members. Without these members, we wouldn't be able to do what we do down here at York County Development Corporation. So members such as Agri-Products, York State Bank, York General, Community Title Company, York Cold Storage, and Union Bank and Trust. All great members that can help us, or that help us do what we do down at York County Development Corporation. So if you're interested about becoming a member or learning more about our members, you can learn them at yorkdevco.com. That's yorkdevco.com. So we'll jump into our interview. Today I am joined by an individual who grew up in north of York County in Clarks, Nebraska. They found themselves at Amherst, straight out of college, working hard with that wrestling program. His program went on to win 8 state titles and have 3 Class D runner-ups in that 11-year period. So we are excited to have Tyler here at York as a York Athletics Director. So I'd like to welcome Tyler Herman to the show.
All right, thanks for having me today. Appreciate it.
Right on. Yeah, so we'll jump right in here. We got a little fun little this or that segment, just kind of talking about different things, just kind of unique things in the world. So first one is Coke or Pepsi? Pepsi, yeah. Is that like the actual soda, or are you like just like I see you got a Mountain Dew, like or do you drink Pepsi products? Or
I don't drink pop a lot anymore. If it's I like just a regular Pepsi, but if there's a cherry Pepsi, I prefer that.
With that, yeah.
Cherry Pepsi or cherry Coke.
Nothing better than that nice little cherry
Absolutely.
Pepsi. Yeah. And then with March Madness going on, Duke or UNC?
I'm gonna say Duke. Just
Okay.
Coach K. It's probably the right way to send him out with at least playing in the finals, and possibly a championship. So I'll go with the Blue Devils.
Yeah, it's been exciting to watch his last year and everything like that. He's phenomenal legacy. His last game, it was exciting to see all of his players, former players come out and support him. Yeah, that's been really cool. Sunrise or sunset?
I'm gonna say sunrise, just because I'm not a morning person. I wish I was, but I would like to be the type of person that could get up early even before the sun comes up and see that sunrise on a daily basis and just get the day going. So I'll say it's sunrise.
Yeah. So sunrise. Next one's appropriate. Toast or eggs?
I'm gonna go with eggs.
Eggs, yeah. What's kind of your go-to breakfast, I guess?
You know what? Most of the time when I'm coming to school, it's like a granola bar or something
quick.
like that.
Yeah.
Something quick so I can eat it on the go or when I get here. But if we actually got time to sit down and eat, bacon and eggs, bacon on the Traeger grill, I love.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Scrambled eggs or sunny side up so I can dip my toast in it. So omelets, all that good stuff. Biscuits and gravy, that's another one. That's another favorite.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Cardio or weights?
Oh boy. Right now I'm doing a lot of cardio because I need to drop a few pounds.
Some winter weight, yeah.
When I wrestled, both in high school and in college, weight management was very important, and you had to lose some weight to get to your weight class. So back in those days, I hated cardio because outside of wrestling practice, when you had to cut a little more weight, it was the elliptical or the treadmill or the Airdyne bike. So for a long time, for a lot of years, I hated cardio and didn't do it for about 10 to 15 years after college. But now I don't mind the cardio. I can jump on the treadmill. I plug in my headphones to my TV remote so I can watch something on TV while I'm walking. But if I had to say one or the other, I'm probably going to go with weights.
Yeah. And so you mentioned headphones, podcasts or music?
Oh, boy. It just depends. Music. Music, yeah.
Okay.
If I'm driving, I do like podcasts here and there.
It kind of stretches out those long drives, make them a little more bearable.
Just got to kill the time, especially being an AD on the road a decent amount. So I do enjoy some podcasts.
A lot of long bus drives, I'm sure. Yeah. Since you said music, we'll roll on the next one. Radio or Spotify?
I'll say radio.
Yeah. And that's a growing, dwindling, there's very few people I think would choose radio.
I don't mind radio. I guess that's what I'm used to when I'm driving the school vehicle somewhere. That's my only choice unless I pull up a podcast on my phone or something. So radio is fine with me. I like Froggy 98.
Yep.
98.1. So I'm a country music guy.
And they do a great job. Yeah, definitely. Crew neck or hoodie?
Oh, I'm gonna say hoodie.
Hoodie,
Yeah,
yeah.
I like hoodies. Just something comfortable.
Card games or board games?
Board games.
Board
Yeah,
games.
I'm not a great card player. I never really have been, so I'm gonna say board games.
Yeah.
And most of the board games I play right now with my young daughters are like
Candyland. Yeah.
You got Candyland,
Sorry.
Shoots and Ladders.
Yep.
So I'll say board games.
Yeah, definitely. Road trip or cruise trip? Like if jump in the car or like hop in a boat, do like a cruise to like the Bahamas, Jamaica.
I've never been on a cruise ever. So
Okay.
I'll probably say, not knowing what it's like, I'm guessing a cruise would be a lot better than jumping in the car and driving all over the place. So
Definitely, yeah. And then passenger or driver. So if you're in the vehicle,
I've got to drive.
Yeah.
Like if I'm a passenger, sometimes I almost get sick. Like I've got to, because I'm looking out the window, I'm watching things. I've got to be driving.
Yep. I'm the same way. If I'm not driving, then I'm asleep in the back. There's none of this like I'm gonna be your co-pilot and have a convert. Yeah, I'm asleep in the back. Yeah.
Most of the time I'm driving, so that's what I'm used to. That's what I prefer.
Art museum or a history museum?
I'm gonna say history.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not super passionate maybe about either.
Yeah.
If I choose one or the other, I'll say history.
Accuracy or speed?
Accuracy.
Accuracy. Yep. Always better to be quality. Quality over quantity. Or
Yeah. That's a
Better to
little
be
bit
right.
of a perfectionist, so I'll say the accuracy part there.
For sure. All right. Cool. So we'll jump into our interview here. So tell me a little bit about growing up in Clarks. What was that like? What was the activities? What kind of kept you busy?
Yeah, so Clark's is about 40 minutes north of here, northwest. At that time, when I was growing up, it was a population about 380 or just shy of 400. Now it's about 330. So like a lot of small towns, it's kind of population's getting smaller. Sports, involved in a ton of sports growing up. Football, wrestling, baseball, did track. Even though I knew I was going to wrestle in high school, my dad was my youth wrestling coach and high school wrestling coach. I still played a lot of basketball growing up. We did everything. And no matter whatever season it was, that was my favorite sport. If it was football season, favorite sport was football. When it was wrestling season, favorite sport's wrestling. Same with baseball and so forth. So tons and tons of sports. And my friends were the same way. We were playing whatever it was, and that's what kept us busy. We'd get home from school when we were in second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth grade. My house was a block from the school, so we'd have a football game. And that's just what we did. It kept us busy. It kept us out of trouble, and we loved it. We'd play football until it was time to go in and eat supper or until the sun went down. So tons and tons of sports. As far as like hobbies, did a lot of card collecting.
Okay. Yep.
Football cards, baseball cards. So every time we'd go to the grocery store, I was
Gotta get a pack.
Mom would buy me a pack of cards. And back in the day, I'm old now. I'm 39 years old. So back in the day, they had the sticks of gum that were harder than a rock. And I think 99% of the time I threw the gum away.
It's just looking for the cards.
And that was another thing a lot of my friends and I had in common is a lot of us would collect baseball and football cards. So it was comparing who we got in the packs of cards, trading cards, and so those are some of the things that we had in common and things we did to, as a group, as our friend group.
Anybody stumble upon some like highly collectible like things or anything?
We always thought we got a King Griffey Jr. or Joe Montana or something like that. That was we're going to be rich someday.
It's our $10,000 ticket.
But then at some point, I think in the 90s, it was Topps or Upper Deck or maybe Bull started overproducing cards, and so there were so many of the cards that they lost value. But when we were younger, we thought.
Do you still have very many of those cards?
I got them all.
Yeah?
Yep, I still got them all. They're in a tote in my basement. I haven't pulled them out for a long time. But when I was, probably from the time I was 5 until I was about 12, I collected cards. And when I got in junior high and high school, I really didn't collect anymore. So.
Those are good. Yeah. Good memories kind of eventually, sure when the kids get kind of old enough, to kind of understand that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pull those out.
A lot of people, when I say Clarks, don't. I guess people in New York probably know where it's at, but other people maybe don't because the Clarks High School is no longer in existence. It's now High Plains Community, Clarks and Polk-Cordville.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Shortly after I was out of school, they co-opted with Polk-Cordville and became High Plains Community.
Okay.
So, yeah, we were the Clarks Blue Bombers, a unique mascot for sure. But, yeah, they held on as long as they possibly could. In my class, I had 10 kids. From the time I was in kindergarten until graduation, I had 10 kids in my class.
So those football games, I imagine you were playing with some, couple years older than you guys.
We were obviously 8-man football, D2. I know my sophomore and junior year, we had 19 kids out. And you always have a couple injuries. or sick kids. I can remember sometimes we had 15 kids practicing, so we'd have a student manager with a hand pad,
just on the line.
Yeah, exactly. And we got by. We got by, and the thing about that is there weren't any breaks.
Nope.
There were about 6 of us my sophomore and junior year that never came out of the game. Every single special teams, offense and defense, you didn't come out. So
explains your lack of lack of love for cardio.
Exactly. So a coach made us condition a lot. We had to be in good shape. So,
but I mean, yeah, that only further. I mean, that only probably helped with your like wrestling conditioning and everything else. I mean, being in that kind of shape only helps, so many other sports.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you mentioned your dad was like, your wrestling coach, your youth wrestling coach. How did he, did he have a passion for wrestling? Did that kind of influence you? I guess, how did that love of wrestling come about?
He had a lot of siblings growing up, and he was the only one that wrestled. He's a 3-time state qualifier, state medalist as a senior. He got 3rd back in 1976 when he was a senior, and then got into coaching in, I think, 1982, 1984-ish. So his high school coach, Norm Manstead, who just retired a couple of years ago after 50 years of coaching, Dad was his assistant for 17 years. Dad's also been a head coach at a couple different schools, Greeley High School. Was my assistant for a few years at Amherst, and then now is actually the head wrestling coach at Pleasanton. Okay. So I believe he's been coaching at least 40 years now.
Oh my goodness.
Right close to it. So yeah, he's been in the profession a long time. And yeah, he's the one that kind of got me interested in wrestling. I started when I was 5 years old. At that point, it was about maybe a 6-week season at most, and we go to like 3 tournaments. The Clark's Youth Tournament, Central City was 10 miles down the road, and maybe Columbus, that was 30 miles down the road, and that was it. That was the extent of our season. But he's the one that got me hooked from an early age.
Definitely. And yeah, that's good. And then, so you mentioned your dad. I guess what your parents do for work and everything?
So right now, my dad is the head of an apartment complex in Grand Island. Mm-hmm. He's the head of facilities there, and he loves it. A lot of flexibility, so it still allows him to coach. He umps Legion baseball all summer, officiates football in the fall, so he loves that he has some flexibility to still do all those things that he loves. My mom works at Buffalo County Courthouse. Mm-hmm. So they moved to Kearney, I want to say, back in 2014, so they've been there about 8 years now. So they don't live in Clarks anymore. But they were very instrumental in the things I did growing up, getting involved in sports. And obviously, Dad is my coach. Always pushed us very hard, myself and my younger brothers. And Mom was, when he'd have to get after us a little bit, Mom would be the one to swoop in and say, hey, it's okay, you did your best. And so it was a nice balance. Mm-hmm. It was a really good balance between Mom and Dad, and they were at every single thing. Obviously, Dad coached a lot of things I did, but my parents never missed an event, whether it was mine or my 2 younger brothers. They were at every single thing that we were a part of.
And so you mentioned they moved to. Did they? I don't want to say. Did they follow you to Amherst? I guess, or
no,
how did that kind of work out?
At some point,
they wanted to get out of Clarks.
Yeah, exactly. At that time, myself and my middle brother were living in Kearney, and my youngest brother was in Ord. So just a chance to get closer to everybody.
Okay, yeah. Just puts them in the center of everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Kearney's a great city, nice, clean, lots of things to do. So they really enjoy living there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so you went on to college. I guess, did you always know it was college? Did you know college was for you, or was there a debate? I guess, how did you kind of find yourself at UNK?
Yeah, so I knew I was going to college. It was just a matter of where. So really, being a small town guy growing up in Clarks, I knew I wasn't going to go to a big college, and I knew I probably wasn't going too far away from home. So I had actually looked at UNO. When I went there, I knew that was too much for me. I did not want to go to school in Omaha. Looked at Northwestern College in Orange City, Iowa, Doane, and then UNK. Thought about baseball at Doane, wrestling at Northwestern and UNK, and eventually chose UNK. So it was a great choice. A great college, great program, physical education program. I was a PE teacher at Amherst, one of the best programs in the state, if not the nation, for teaching and coaching. So, yeah, very glad I made that decision to go to UNK. What really appealed was just the smaller class sizes. You didn't get lost in the shuffle. Professors knew your first name, knew where you grew up. What I thought was really cool is our AD at the time when I was there. He's got a lot of athletes that he's overseen, a lot of programs. When he'd see me in the hallway, he called me by my first name. And I was a pretty average college wrestler. I wasn't the national champion or All-American, but he still knew who I was.
There was no reason, you couldn't think of a reason for him to know your name, but he knew it. Yeah.
So that was the nice thing about UNK is everybody knew who you were. They cared about you. They wanted to see you succeed. And ultimately, it was a good fit for me.
Mm-hmm. And so you wrestled. So you wrestled, right, while at UNK?
Yep.
So talk to me a little bit, how, that collegiate wrestling, I'm sure there's a lot on your plate to kind of manage. I'm sure high school wrestling is way different than college wrestling. So talk to me a little bit about that.
The biggest difference is the length of the season. So high school season is 3 months. Of course, you're always doing some off-season stuff, but the actual season is 3 months. You get to college, it's a 6-month season. So we show up in mid-August, have about a week of classes to kind of acclimate to our classes and so forth. And then we would start our conditioning.
And those early mornings, late nights.
End of August, September 1, we had about a month conditioning, and then we get on the mat October 1st. So your season was the 1st of October till mid-March. I remember the first week of just conditioning alone. They were hard workouts, and I was thinking, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? But then you get through it, especially that first year. I remember Coach Bauer, Mark Bauer was my head coach at that time. He's now the athletic director at UNK. Told all us rookies, he said, just give it 2 years. Okay, at least 2 years. If after 2 years you don't like it, then you can get out. But you got to at least give it 2 years. So that first year, the first couple of months were tough. Because you go into a college room, pretty much everybody is a state medal, at least a state medalist and multiple state champions. So you're wrestling some of the best kids out there. That was the difference between the high school room and the college room. Is early on, you're going to get beat up a lot. You're going to get taken down a lot. So going through some of those growing pains early on. But it worked out well. I had a lot of good experiences. Got to wrestle in a lot of cool places and do a little bit of traveling. And, my junior year, we were runner-up, national runner-up for the first time ever in program history. Won national duels for the first time ever in program history. So we got to do a lot of cool things, be a part of a lot of cool things. And, it was a great experience. At times, like I said, it was tough. But it was well worth it. That eventually helped me with my coaching career.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, that sacrifice and everything, it takes a lot. I mean, wrestling is one of those, I feel like it's a different type of animal as far as coaching goes. I mean, wrestling coaches, like, they live, the wrestling, you'll see a football coach, hop in and try and do a drill. Wrestling coaches are doing the drills, day in and day out. So that's like something kind of cool. So, talk to me about, arriving at Amherst and how you, decided, that's what you wanted to, that was the location you wanted to be at.
Sure.
After you left UNK.
So I was a K-12 physical education major and then had my coaching endorsement. So I knew I wanted to teach and coach, just unaware at the time. So going back to my UNK days, when I got out of wrestling at UNK, I still had some eligibility left. That year, I was our starting 57-pounder. I got 4th at the regional tournament, which regionals like districts here in Nebraska. You got to be top 4 at your regional to advance to nationals, just like here, top 4 districts to advance to state. So I got 4th in my regional, but the thing that's different about college is if you have not wrestled a guy that got 5th, you have to wrestle a true 4th place match.
To win.
In the consolation semis, to get in for 3rd, I beat a kid from San Francisco State that was ranked 7th in the nation. I beat him in overtime. Got beat in my 3rd place match. I had wrestled a kid that got 5th. So he beat me, so I was knocked out. And those 4 kids that qualified out of my regional got 1st, 2nd, 5th, and 6th at nationals.
What?
But at that year, I just did not enjoy wrestling for whatever reason. I'd had enough. I was done. I was ready to move on and look and be a coach.
Mm-hmm.
So, even though I had eligibility left, I was kind of right on the cusp of being a national qualifier and doing some good things. I just knew it was time for a change. My heart wasn't in it anymore. I wanted to shift gears and go into coaching. So I reached out to the head coach at Amherst. And he said, there's an opportunity for you to come over and volunteer. It'll look great on your resume. You're going into teaching and coaching anyway. Come on over. We'd love to have you. Well, he ended up leaving, took a job somewhere else.
Did you have any prior connection with Amherst, or was it just a cold call kind of?
Just kind of growing up. I came from a Class D school, and they were Class D. Just more of a cold call. So,
okay.
Hey, I wrestled at UNK. I got some eligibility left, but I'm ready to be done. But I still have some schooling to finish up.
Mm-hmm.
So while I'm going to school at UNK, I'd like
this is what I want to do. Got it.
So head coach left, and he said our assistant coach is going to probably be the head coach. Well, he ended up leaving, so they're looking for a head coach. And here I am at 22 years old. Called their principal and said, I'd like to be your next head wrestling coach.
I think
Called me over for an interview, and I got the job. Obviously, I'm not ready to teach yet. I'm still going to school. So at 22 years old, I was the new head wrestling coach at Amherst. Did that for a couple of years while I was finishing school. They had a teaching opening the next year. I was PE, but they had a science opening. They said, if you'll teach half science and half PE, we'll probably have a full-time PE the following year. So that's how I kind of got my foot in the door to be there for more of a long term. So that's kind of where it all started. It worked out good because Amherst was 15 miles down the road. I was going to UNK, and I didn't think it would end up being a long-term situation because I had no idea what they'd have for teaching positions. It worked out well for me. I was able to go there for 12 years and had a lot of success.
So talk to me a little bit about your journey through Amherst. You were there for 12 years. You had quite a bit of success with your program there. So talk to me about was that success instantaneous? Like, was there like some of that from the previous coach helping carry stuff over? I guess what kind of was that like?
Sure. So Amherst had a lot of individuals that did well to state tournament, but they had not won a team state title since 1978. So when I arrived in 05, the 04-05 school year, a lot of people said that we haven't won a state title since 1978. Like, we're ready to start winning again. They had been 7th, they had been 12th before I got there. So not bad, but definitely not bringing home trophies from the state tournament. Mm-hmm. So the big thing is to change the culture, create some higher expectations, get kids to buy into a new system and a younger coach. And the first thing I noticed when I got there is the technique was kind of an older school technique. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So that's where my experience at UNK really came in handy, is using some of that new modern technique I learned at the collegiate level and bringing that over to the high school level. Now, it took time for those kids to buy in. My first year, we actually were 6th at the state tournament. And then that's when we started on that nice little run, the next 11 years of either state championship or a state runner-up. So it took some time to get it going. It took some time to get the buy-in. But eventually we got that train rolling. So
that you mentioned that changing of the culture. I mean, I feel like that's such a big undertaking. So like, what are some of the things that you kind of implemented, or what steps did you put in place to kind of change a culture, and what kind of culture were you wanting to change into, I guess?
Yeah, first of all was just how we practice. When I first got there, the practices, you could just tell that they hadn't been really pushed and had some intense practices. So it was almost a college-style practice that I brought to the high school level. And so getting that mindset change of, we're going to practice hard. And when we're working on drills and technique, we're going to work hard. It's not just when you're wrestling live. Mm-hmm, and mm-hmm. So changing that mentality, that mindset, just training-wise, developing training phases, your technique phase, your training phase, and your peaking phase, and getting kids to peak at the right time of the year. So that was a big part of it. And then just creating those higher expectations. When I got there, it drove me crazy because kids were satisfied with a 5th or a 6th place medal at state. And when I knew some of these kids had the potential to be state champions or state finalists. So shifting that mindset and getting kids to believe that they could do even better. And we could, not only individually, but team-wise, we could have something special here. And then outside of your season, your 3-month season, the off-season work. When you're a wrestler, if you want to be at the best and be on top of the podium 3rd week in February, you got to do some off-season stuff. So getting kids to buy into the off-season work. I also had to be there, going to off-season mm-hmm. tournaments, whether it's in Nebraska or out of state, the summer wrestling. So getting kids to buy into getting more mat time, more repetitions. All that took time, but that was kind of a shift in the culture where I saw things change.
Did you end up starting a more youth camp to try and get younger people involved, or what kind of steps did you take to kind of grow the program beyond just the ones that were already there?
Yeah, so the youth program is already in place. I think the youth program in Amherst was started back in 1988. Mm-hmm. So 95% of the schools in Nebraska have some sort of youth program feeding the high school program. But early on, it was just getting involved in the youth program, being there for practices. So that way, the terminology is the same. From the kindergartners to the seniors. Yep. Absolutely, that terminology is the same. So whether it's myself or any of the dads that were helping coach, the terminology is the same. We're calling every move the same thing. We're showing it the same way. So just having that alignment from top to bottom was huge. So early on, there were a lot of long days where I was teaching high school practice from 3:30 to 5:30 straight into a youth practice. Mm-hmm. But that's what it took to get the program to where we want it to go. And it's important for the head coach of the high school program to be involved in a youth program in some aspect.
What kind of led to you being, that success, having, those 8 titles and 11 or 3 runners up and things like that. So what kind of, you said changing the culture, but, what was the ultimate thing, that kind of led to that kind of success?
I had some great kids to work with. Not that they were always the best wrestlers, but kids that were hard workers. They were coachable. They were doing the things, willing to do the extra things to make themselves better. They were willing, when I first got there, to believe in a 22-year-old head coach, and work hard. And so those were the biggest things. Is we weren't always the best team those years we won state, but we had kids, like I said, that would work hard, were coachable, continuing to develop and improve. And that's what made us better. We had a lot of kids that had losing records in junior high, and by the time they're in high school, they're winning state medals and they're state champions. We had kids that were, I can think of a couple kids right off the top of my head that were 3-19 as freshmen, and they were third stringers for us. And by the time they were junior and seniors, they were on the podium at state.
It's exciting, change.
So that was the big thing, is seeing that growth and development with those kids being coachable. And when their technique got better is when they really jumped levels. That's where we saw the biggest gains with our kids is technically, strategy, all those good things. I thought that's where we were better than others. Is we got better from a technique standpoint. And early on in the season, there were some matches maybe we lost. By the end of the year, we were winning those matches. So
did you see the program grow quite a bit over that? Like, were more kids wanting to come out for wrestling? And then how did you adapt to, maybe only having, 10 or 12 wrestlers to now having 20 wrestlers,
Yeah. When you have success, people get excited about that. They want to be a part of it. And so I had 14 wrestlers my first year. By the time I left, we had 24. Now, remember, it's a small Class D school, so we weren't going to have 40 or 50.
But that's still a large...
24 was huge. Yeah, absolutely. We were one of the smallest schools in Class D when I first started. There was 72 schools in Class D. We were 50th in enrollment. So we knew we were going to have a lot of numbers, but just that success was huge, because then you get the little kids excited about it. You got the shirts out there that were wearing the Class D state champions, and our wrestlers would always order state championship rings. And the little kids see that. And then we started promoting it even more. When we'd have a duel or a triangular at home, we would have we'd have posters. We'd create posters, and we'd have, after the duel, our high school kids would sign them and autograph them for the little kids. And so they'd put that poster on their wall. Or we'd have a duel where we'd have like the foam fingers. So in wrestling, it was the number 2. Usually you see like a foam finger with a number 1. It was 2 for a takedown. So when we score a takedown, the younger kids would hold up that foam finger with a 2.
That's really cool. Yeah.
So things like that to promote our sport a little bit more, promote our program and get kids excited was huge. And once we started winning and bringing home those state championship trophies, and little kids would come down to state and watch the team, or they'd watch the state finals on Nebraska Public Television. It just, that excitement, it just kept rolling. And we created a lot of momentum. And when we got on a nice little run there of 7 years in a row with a state championship, 11 years in a row total with state championship or state runner-up. So that was huge. Like I said, once you see success at the highest level of the state tournament,
it's infectious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, certainly. And like you said, I mean, I can only imagine how many 5th graders you probably, or people that were 5th graders, and they're like, I remember watching this guy wrestle when I was in elementary school, and now I'm doing it. All these kind of surreal moments, I guess, if you will. Yeah, that's probably been pretty neat. So how did you find yourself rounding out your time? You got your master's, so you knew you wanted to kind of go on to like an administrative role. Did you just find yourself kind of bouncing off the ceiling in Amherst, or did you know you needed to move out to kind of go up, or what did that kind of look like?
So I still really enjoyed coaching when I got out of it. Actually, it took me a couple of years. The first couple of years out, I was like, why did I get out? Maybe I need to get back in it. But my 10th year at Amherst, I had finished up my master's degree in 2014, and I knew at some point, if something opens up, an administrative position that I'm really interested in, I'm probably going to go after it. So I'm at my 12th year there, 2016. A dean of students job opened up at Kearney High, and at that time we lived in Kearney. The plan was to do that role for a couple of years, and then an assistant principal was going to retire and take his position. So I did that for 1 year at Kearney High. And let me tell you, dean of students is a lot of discipline, a lot of student discipline. And I soon realized, being a small town guy growing up in Clarks, going to a Class D Amherst, and then going to Class A Kearney High, It just wasn't a good fit for me.
Yep. I mean, you probably just didn't have the experience dealing with having that discipline. I mean,
it was new to me because we didn't have discipline issues at Amherst.
It was dealt with. I mean, it was dealt with at home. It was dealt with. Yeah, you didn't have a principal. Yeah,
there were a lot of great kids at Kearney High, a lot of great kids, but there are a handful, or more than a handful, I should say, that they
challenging backgrounds.
Exactly, and so those were the kids I was working with on a daily basis. So about 2 months in, I knew I need to get back involved in athletics, not necessarily get back into coaching, but I've got to get back involved in athletics at some capacity. We don't want to leave Kearney, but if the opportunity presents itself, we got to look into it. So January came, Gothenburg's assistant principal AD had moved into a principal position there. So I applied for the job at Gothenburg, got the job as assistant principal AD there. So we moved to Gothenburg in the summer of 2017. Was in that role for 2 years, absolutely loved it. Gothenburg is a great place, great school district, great community. But this job in York came open. So my mother-in-law lives in Omaha, so we were making the trek down I-80 to Omaha quite a bit. And every time we drive by York and the water balloon,
water tower
not water balloon,
hot air balloon,
water tower, was always there. So obviously everybody knows where York's at. And we always thought, ideally it's a great school district, a great community, and just a great location. So we thought if this ever opens up, I'm gonna seriously consider an AD job at York High School. Well, 2 years down the road, the job opens up. Get offered the job, and then we come to York. And like I said, there for a lot of reasons. Progressive school district, progressive community. When you look at that time, you look on Twitter and you just see all the great things going on within the school district. I thought the administrators, the teachers really did a great job. The coaches promoting all the positive things going on in York, in our school district, and selling that to everybody else. A great place to raise a family. I mean, that was the biggest thing for me, is not only a job that's ideal for me, but where's going to be a great place for my 4 daughters. So ideally, we came to York and moved in the summer of 2019. So almost 3 years now. It's crazy to believe it's been 3 years already. And it's been a great move. We absolutely love it here.
And so I guess what took you aback, I guess, because I mean, you mentioned most of your exposure to York was driving by on the interstate. Mm-hmm. So when you came in for the interview, probably learned a lot, but what were some of those things that kind of took you aback or kind of blew you away about the community?
Just obviously I did my research ahead of time before I came for the interview. And like I mentioned, just the presence on social media and all the positive things that were going on within the school district definitely was pretty darn impressive and got me interested in the job, first of all. And then the day of the interview, meeting the teachers, meeting the school board, meeting the rest of the admin team. I'd known Kenny Loosevelt previously, but meeting the rest of the admin team, just impressed with who they were as people, what they had going on here, and just the possibilities and the opportunities that York High School and York Public Schools in general creates for the students. So a lot of attractive things that definitely stood out. And when I left that day, I remember thinking, if I get offered, I'm taking this job. It's not that I didn't like Gothenburg. I loved Gothenburg. Had York not opened up, I'd probably still be in Gothenburg and probably stay there till I retired. Mm-hmm. But when you get offered to come to a place like York, you don't turn it down.
And so you made the offer. You've been here for the last 3 years. How have the last 3 years have been really weird just in general. But I guess how have these first 3 years here in York been for you?
Oh, I'll tell you what, they've absolutely flown by. Like, I cannot believe it's been 3 years already. Mm-hmm. Definitely the end of that first year was interesting with COVID. It really threw a wrench in a lot of things. I thought the year was sailing along pretty good, and then here came COVID. And
2018 turns to 2019, and then the world,
just changed things tremendously. But we worked through it. We got through it, and I think we're, back to closer to normal now. And definitely it's been a busy time for sure. I think that's part of why it's flown by so fast is being an activities director and assistant principal. It's busy. A lot of nights, a lot of weekends away from home. But I enjoy all of that. I enjoy watching our activities programs and watching our student athletes and our coaches compete and just the amount of success that we've had in the last 3 years is obviously York's had success for a lot of years. Mm-hmm. Going way back, but just seeing some of the things that our programs have done has been really exciting.
And so these last 3 years, and so where do you see what kind of things do you want to accomplish? I just saw on the school board where we're adding girls wrestling and high school bowling. So what are some kind of other programs that are maybe out there, or where do you want to refine, our athletics? Just share a little bit about that.
I think right now we're in a really good place. Program wide, we got a lot of successful programs that are doing a lot of really good things, and even those that are, maybe not winning state championships or competing in state tournaments we're competitive. That's what every single team we have here at York High School is competitive, no matter what, whether we're young, experienced, and like you mentioned, the addition of 2 new sports is very exciting. Right now, winter-wise, the only sport we have available for our females is girls basketball. So the addition of girls bowling and girls wrestling gives those students a couple more opportunities to choose from and get involved. And that's what we want. That's the main goal of your activities, programs, education-based activities, is get your kids involved, participating, learning those life lessons. So boys and girls bowling, girls wrestling, there was strong interest. Obviously, with bowling at the club level, great numbers. So we knew if we add this, we're going to have a lot of kids interested, a lot of kids participating. Girls wrestling wise, we did a survey to kind of see what we might have interest wise, and those look really good too. And the nice thing about those sports is they're growing statewide and conference wide. So conference with bowling, we've got now 5 of the 9 schools have girls and boys bowling. Wrestling wise, 8 of the 9 schools have it now. So obviously both NSA sanctioned events, so you have state tournaments, televised state tournaments. So we're really excited. Now the next part is, it's been approved, building some schedules, and all that good stuff, and kind of figuring out other pieces of the puzzle.
For sure.
It's exciting. Now there's some work to be done to get ready for next year, but it's exciting that we're going to create some more opportunities for our kids.
Yeah, and then you talked a little bit about scheduling. That's one of your roles. I know some of these people listening may not be 100% familiar with your role as an athletic director. So share a little bit about, what's your month-to-month, day-to-day, week-to-week kind of, season-to-season kind of look like.
So during the day, it's kind of a mix of assistant principal and activities director duties. Obviously, when 3:30 hits, it's full AD mode. Game management, supervision of games, the preparation. So as I mentioned before, there are a lot of nights and a lot of weekends where I'm gone. I'm either hosting an event here at York High School or somewhere here in York, or down the road, watching our kids compete. So it's busy, especially the fall. The fall is fast and furious. We got about 6 sports going on. The winter, we don't have as much going on. I guess now we will, with some addition to some sports. There's not as many sports, but it's still fast and furious. And then of course, get a couple weeks off in between each season. But the fall, the winter, and the spring sports, there's always something going on. And it's not just the competition that I'm at. So there's days where we don't have any competition that night, but I'll pop in the practices and watch our kids and our coaches work at practice. And I enjoy that part of it too. Just kind of pop in. It's not evaluative. It's just getting to see the good things our kids and coaches are doing. So it's a lot. But I always tell my kids, I don't ever say I'm going to work. I always say I'm going to school, because for me, it doesn't feel like work. It's a job I really love and I really enjoy, and it doesn't feel like work. It's fun. It's a passion.
So you mentioned the I imagine as long as students are, a program has, students are performing well, things like that. But what kind of things do you look for, in a coach to try and standards that they should be meeting and things like that? Obviously, like you said, we want them to be competitive, but there's a lot other bigger things, especially at this level, to be learning about sports. And so kind of talk to me a little bit about, how that kind of works out.
Yeah, absolutely. We want our coaches to be relationship builders and be able to connect with our kids. Winning is fun, but we're not always going to win all the time. So we got to have those relationships and those connections. And then ultimately, we got to be teaching our kids life lessons through participation in our sports and our activities. That's what high school education-based activities are all about. Teaching our kids those life lessons of what it means to work hard, to be a good teammate, to be coachable, how to deal with adversity, all those important life skills our kids are learning through participation in sports. And our coaches do a really, really good job of being intentional about teaching those life skills. Yes, we're focusing on winning a game or winning this competition, but here are the things we're learning in the process. So that's exciting to see too. That's one of the most rewarding things about being a coach is those connections you make, and then down the road, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, down the road, is making or still talking to those kids that you coached and having those relationships with them. So
Definitely. Cool. So we'll jump into kind of some last little thing, rapid fire questions here, kind of round out our interview. A favorite smell? Is there like something that comes to mind when someone says a favorite smell?
I would say any type of like scented candle or scentsy that's like a vanilla.
Okay.
Flavor.
Yeah.
I don't know. That sounds kind of weird probably, but anything like a vanilla kind of aroma.
All right. Yeah. Does that just like, is there like, did your mom used to cook or something? Or what about like
I don't know why. I like to smell like a vanilla.
Okay.
Yeah. So
a favorite season? Is there a time of year, with a lot of sports and things like that? I'm sure all your seasons are kind of dictated by that, but what's one that kind of maybe sticks out for you?
As much as I enjoy being at all of our activities and games, summer, just because it's it's downtime and it's time for me to spend some more time with my own kids, with my 4 daughters, with my wife. We get a chance, usually in July, to get out of town. We go to the Henry Dorley Zoo, or we'll go to the College World Series. And we'll do those types of things just to get out of York for a little bit and do something different, just kind of an escape from everything. So definitely the summer when we got a little more family time.
Definitely. So I imagine, in the summertime you get a day off. So what's your favorite, kind of thing to do, in that day off, either by yourself or with family or one or the other? Kind of how do you like to spend your free time when you can get?
I just love spending time with my daughters, whether it's out on the swing set, the trampoline, playing Barbies, playing catch, whatever it might be, whatever it is that they want to do. Board games, we talked about board games earlier, whatever it is what they want to do, just because there are so many nights and weekends during the school year when I'm not home. So to be home with them and whatever it is that they're interested in, they want to do, I love.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so what are the age ranges, I guess? You got 9 to like 2, it looks like almost?
We got, so my oldest is 17. She's a junior. And I have an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 3-year-old.
Wow. So you got you're in every school, it seems like. Yeah.
So they keep us busy, they keep us on our toes, and I love it. They're involved in obviously our oldest is involved in track and cross country here in high school. 8-year-old and 6-year-old are both involved in gymnastics, Discover Gymnastics here in town.
Yeah.
8-year-old's also doing some softball this summer, fusion softball. And then our 3-year-old just kind of dabbles in whatever keeps her busy, pretty much. Whatever
Chasing the sisters are doing.
Whatever the older sisters are doing, that's what she wants to do. Last night we had I think it's the Little Tykes basketball hoop out shooting hoops. So,
heck yeah, definitely. A favorite restaurant you have here in York County? So when like friends or family come and visit, what's a place where you gotta take everyone to kind of go?
Yeah, this was a tough one because there are a lot of good restaurants in town, but I'd say our favorite is probably La Casina. And if my wife and I don't have a lot of date nights, I guess you would say, or time away, but if we do get one here and there, that's usually where we go.
And they do phenomenal down there. I mean, before the remodel, it was awesome. After the remodel, it's only gotten better. So, yeah, I really love it down there. Yeah. They do a great job.
Food is great, and
consistent.
Service is always awesome.
And it's quick.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so quick. Yeah. Borderline fast food almost.
Yeah.
A favorite memory here in York County? I know you've been here for 3 years, and so there might be a few, or what kind of comes to mind as like a favorite memory over these last 3 years?
Yeah, that's tough to pick one. This is probably just going to be a general answer, and I would just say it's all of our sports and activities, being able to go watch our kids and our coaches compete. I do love that. I enjoy the heck out of it, and it's why I enjoy my job so much. It keeps me busy and it keeps me going, but I would say just being able to watch all of those competitions, the kids and coaches compete is probably, if I can't narrow it down to one, just overall, that's what I enjoy.
Certainly. And then a dream vacation, something that maybe you've already been on this dream vacation, or one that you kind of got locked in the books for the future. What's something that you a vacation you'd look forward to?
Yeah, boy, that's a good question. My wife would probably think this answer is pretty lame because any of my dream vacations obviously involve sports, some sort of sporting event. I would like to kind of involve sports and maybe a nice beach location. So I would probably say like Myrtle Beach.
Okay, yeah.
Obviously a nice place to go. And then if I'd go, I'd probably time it so it's like May. So it's nicer there. So you get in the ocean and do some swimming and so forth. But then I go watch a Coastal Carolina baseball game.
I should say catch a baseball game.
That's where my wife would probably roll her eyes right now. But yeah, I guess that's what it was growing up. Vacations were kind of involved some sort of sporting event, whether it's Husker football, College World Series, going to Omaha Royals. Basically, now it's the Omaha Storm Chasers. It was the
Yep.
Royals then. So I don't really have a desire to go to Cancun or Jamaica. I just want to go find somewhere, maybe a beach, like I said, some nice weather, and go to some sporting events. So.
You could go to that Bahamas basketball tournament over.
Yeah, there you go.
Bahamas,
there you go.
That'd be a
Exactly.
good way to kind of.
Isn't there a Bahamas Bowl? I feel like there's a football game.
Yes, yeah, there's Bahamas Bowl now.
Hawaii Bowl and stuff like that. So there's some good destinations for college football bowl games.
Or even, like college basketball, you catch, one of those out in Hawaii, the Hawaii tournament or whatever.
Absolutely. So, yeah, there's some good options out there.
What's a favorite candy bar? One that it's always locked in the drawer, or always available. What do you got?
I don't eat a lot of candy anymore, but I would say, do you remember whatchamacallits?
I remember the name.
Yeah, so
I don't think I've ever had them.
They're still out there. You don't see them advertised a lot, but I used to love whatchamacallits. But if it's something, you don't really see them at the concession stands and stuff. And sometimes my supper is whatever at the concession stand.
Yep.
But my go-to usually is the Snickers.
I can only imagine the number of hot dogs and popcorn.
Yeah, too many hot dogs and Snickers, and
you almost got to keep track one year just to kind of as a joke, so that way you can throw the statistic around.
I want to know, but yeah, it'd be a lot of concessions.
How many sodas drank? Yeah, bottles of water consumed. Yeah, a favorite county or local event. So over these last 3 years, is there an event that pops up on the calendar that you're maybe anticipating, whether it's York Fest or going down to McCool for one of their community celebrations, or the county fair? What's something that kind of stands out as a favorite event?
I really like the Salute to Educators. That's all the chances are put on by the Chamber of Commerce. It's an awesome event. I love it that they recognize those of us that are in education, and they do a fantastic job. Madonna and crew of just putting on an awesome event. And it's just kind of nice. You come in, you buy your raffle tickets, and you got the drawing. And of course, I never win. I feel like Dr. Bartholomew always wins something pretty cool, but I have not won anything yet, I guess. But it's kind of cool, the drawings and the things that they give away.
And all the donations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And everyone from, all walks of business, come to that. And so it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's the cool thing, is it's not just educators that come, it's everybody. And so we enjoy that, just the conversations we have with everybody, across the community, no matter where they work. And I that's a pretty cool event. It's a pretty special event. So I would say that's one of my favorites.
Certainly. Perfect. So rounding out the interview here, we got What's Making Us Happy, just kind of a fun segment, talking about the good in our lives, since there's some doom and gloom always, it seems like, in the news. For me, we just finished up the YCDC High School Regional Career Day, which was very exciting. We had 30 professionals come out and speak with over 190 students from across 9 different schools and probably 4 or 5 different counties. So, it was a pretty big event, and it just goes to show how many people in this community really care about the growth of our next generation, to be able to give 4 hours out of their day and come and talk about their profession and how they want people to enter that profession and stay here locally. It just makes me very happy to know that we have a very supportive community around us.
Absolutely.
And what about you? What's going on in your world? What's making you happy?
A couple weeks ago, we just had our spring break.
Mm-hmm.
And it was nice just to kind of recharge the batteries after a busy winter sports season and kind of get rejuvenated for the spring sports. But being able to spend time with family, it was 4 or 5 days just kind of away from everything. Getting to spend time with my wife and my kids and my brothers and my family. And my youngest brother was out in Fruita, Colorado, which is almost Utah, 10 hours away. And he just moved back to Gretna the week before that. So we got a chance to see him for the first time in a long time. And so that was nice. So it's nice to have everybody close again. He's in Gretna, middle brother's in Grand Island, parents are in Kearney, my in-laws are in Elgin and Omaha. So it's nice to have all our family close again. So it's just nice to have that family time and be able to do some things outside of the school building.
Mm-hmm. Certainly. Cool. So I just want to thank you again for taking the time, sitting with me for almost the last hour now. And so I certainly appreciate that. I appreciate all of our members once again. So members such as Cornerstone Bank, Nebraska Public Power District, Henderson State Bank, Overland Ready Mix Company, Copes Odie, and Midwest Bank. Once again, all great businesses that help us do what we do down here at YCDC. So, Tyler, I'll let you close out the show with a quote. If you got a favorite quote or words of wisdom, or if there's activities that we need to plug or anything coming up, feel free to share what you want, and the floor is yours.
Sure. I just say no quotes or anything fancy like that, but I just like to say this is an outstanding school district. I love working for York Public Schools. I love being in this community. I love my job. I love being an assistant principal and activities director. And like I said before, I don't ever say I'm going to work. I say I'm going to school. So I enjoyed talking with you today about some of those things within my profession. And it's kind of nice to relive the past a little bit. I guess the good old days growing up in Clarks and even some of the good college days at UNK and coaching at Amherst. So, those are things I haven't talked about or thought about for a long time. Usually you're living in the present and looking ahead to the future. So it's kind of fun to go back and relive that past a little bit. So I appreciate you having me on the show today.
Thank you, Tyler.
This is 17 County, a new podcast brought to you by the York County Development Corporation in Nebraska. For more information about life and opportunity in the Heartland, visit yorkdevco.com. Come grow with us. And if you liked this episode, be sure to rate and review 17 County on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen.